Right. So,
Well, Sony backed down. That's good.
yes, they did.
How's the other video game companies doing? I hear Nintendo's doing really well.
Switch 2 news is going to be coming. Is going to be coming a couple months. Sorry for those of you who are under the impression that we are currently buckless. I am bucked up. You just can't see Bucky in front of.
Oh my God! Are you switching outfits every time?
Yes.
How many Bucky's fucking?
We are still bucked up. God damn it! What the f you think this is?
You're sick.
All right, you know I goddamn right I am. Yeah. So hey, Switch 2 news officially confirmed. Don't worry, shareholders, we got that coming your way.
So chill.
Yep.
Hey guys, we're gonna talk about the Switch 2. It won't be the next Nintendo Direct, but it'll probably be the one after it.
Like the worst kept secret in video games right now. They kind of just went, all right, let's just stop playing games. And at least if we're going to have this rumor flying around, let's capitalize for investors, right? So
well, the other thing is that they were like, also the Switch 2 is like, we're calling it the next model of Switch. It's basically the Switch, but newer. Like just so blunt and obvious.
2025. We'll find out, not this year, but by then or so. So, sure. That's great. That's all fine and dandy. Fucking just Microsoft, everyone actually, right? So yeah, we have our Sony story. Here's our Nintendo story. All right, what's going on?
Also, Nintendo has made more money with the Switch than the entire history of Nintendo as a company combined.
That is fucking nuts. I have not heard that.
Yeah, they put out the data. They have made more money on the Switch than the 100-year history of the company combined.
Wow. Slightly more profitable than Hanafuda cards, huh?
Slightly.
Okay. Holy shit, that's insane. Well, anyway, I don't know, man. There's no clever fucking bit. Hi-Fi Rush is dead, and it's like you get one nice thing, and that's all you're allowed to have.
So let's start from the beginning. Microsoft announced today that Tango GameWorks, Arcane Austin, and then Alpha Dog. God, what's it called? I screwed up the names on these earlier, which is unfortunate.
Arcane Austin, who developed Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango GameWorks, Bethesda Cuts, and
Alpha Dog Games, and there's a fourth one.
Roundhouse Studios.
All right, so here's the really fun thing. Okay, so let's start. So Matt Booty puts out a statement that says he's the face of this, who goes, hey, we're shutting these things down. So first of all, he calls it Alpha Dog Studios when the actual studio is called Alpha Dog Games. This is of note because Alpha Dog Studios is a fursuit company. He then calls Roundhouse he calls it Roundhouse Games
when it's Roundhouse
when the
Studios.
studio is actually called Roundhouse Studios.
Yes.
He then goes on to say, well, don't worry, there's lots of DLC coming, and lists Elder Scrolls Online The Golden Road, which is not the name of that expansion. It's called The Gold Road. So, like, this mass firing is being perpetrated by people who literally don't even know your name.
I'm tweeting. I can't even look at the paper the email in front of me to get it together. Just fucking holy shit. Yeah.
So a Hi-Fi Rush. You remember when they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush and we're like, we're super happy with Hi-Fi Rush. Mm-hmm. And we're like, wow, they sent that game out to die. We now like this with the closing down of Tango. It's actually very clear that the shadow drop, which they played off like a big smart move, was actually they just didn't want to pay for any marketing and they sent that game out to die. and then it didn't die.
It was insanely successful by word of mouth.
And that was like disappointing because they wanted it to just die.
So now you have to wonder, right? Now you have to go back and go, all right. So
those games haven't even been ported to the fucking platforms they announced it to get ported to.
So you have to go back and think on things and go like, is this a situation where the success is like, it's like, God damn it, we were hoping for that loss to make up for, like basically like, is there an amount that like a tax cut would have worked in their benefit? Is there an amount that it would have compensated for on the earnings report of like the overall losses?
So here's my gut. So I'm not a businessman. I'm not a business major. I don't know anything about business, but I do know video game shitbag CEOs. What I believe was occurring was they never thought they'd make their money back on Hi-Fi Rush, right? So they didn't want to pay for any marketing. And they were planning to cut Tango Gameworks in the future to help pay for the Activision Blizzard merger shit, right? Because they were expecting that to go through. But if Hi-Fi Rush had bombed horribly, then they would, that studio's not performing very well. Yeah, it's an unfortunate cut. But that's not what happened.
That's not what happened.
They actually performed super good. So they're cutting a profitable studio to pay for the Activision Blizzard merger for no reason.
Unfortunately, springtime for Hitler in Germany, did not quite flop the way they were hoping it would.
Yeah. What happened to Tango Gameworks is tragic. What happened to Arcane Austin is in some ways even more tragic.
So they survived, and because they're working on Blade.
No. Arcane Austin didn't.
Arcane Lion.
Arcane Lyon, which is the France studio, the primary Arcane studio. They're working on Blade. But here's the thing. Arcane Austin was told by Microsoft after purchase, make Redfall. And they were like, we don't want to. I don't know if you remember seeing interviews with people. They literally did not want to. And people like left the project because they did not want to make Redfall, because that company did not want to make Redfall. And then it was forced out the door 6 months early. And then it horribly fucking bombed. And they're like, oh, look them, the fucking shitheaded studio. Oh, bad. And they killed them.
So
like they were literally forced into a fucking off a cliff.
And I'm seeing that so it's ending development, and they're going to keep the servers on and provide a make good offer for people who just purchased DLC that hero DLC for it. But yeah, I think like it's just, of course, this relates to what we were just touching on a bit earlier, but acquisition is just the worst possible outcome for any of these smaller studios. It's always a thought that like, okay, you get this much money, you get this much coverage, you get this much protection, you'll be able to work on you get a guaranteed like funding for multiple projects. You can handle a particular IP and go years with it or whatever the case is. But
Hi-Fi Rush won a BAFTA award last month.
Fucking whatever, right? But in that loss of your independence and your ability to walk away from a deal, you just have this like, yeah, you are now a liability. You'll be shut down. Whatever it can be saved or salvaged from that, will be stripped. And if your closure can result in like a debt offset elsewhere in this larger company, then that's what it becomes. It becomes part of the equation.
So,
like,
do you remember
the entire Embracer bit?
Do you remember in 2014 when Microsoft showed off Phantom Dust as a CG trailer? And then they told everyone how awesome that game was going to be, and the dev team was like, that's crazy because we didn't know anything about that CG trailer. And then it came out that they had actually canceled the game 6 months before E3 and just never told the studio to stop working on it.
The CG
trailer had been like bought to show that they had games at E3. Then everyone got fired because they were told to make like a single player, but then they wasn't part of the budget, but then they never gave them any money, so they just fucking killed that studio for nothing. And then Scalebound happened and all that shit. And do you remember us having like a really long conversation in which we were like, you should not let your company get bought by Microsoft, because Microsoft will just kill your company for nothing. Like they won't even wait for you to ship a game before killing you. Right?
I remember when I think it was actually it might have been like Oda at SNK who was talking about the Samurai Showdown getting exclusivity bought on Epic Game Store, and we're just describing how, you know, a lot of games that we were that were like getting exclusivity were just being paid for by, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of copies early on and stuff. And anyway, all this is just to say that he kind of said something in the interview where he's kind of saying, like, there's essentially, for small studios, there actually literally is a thing that is an offer you can't refuse. You know, and
which is the offer that keeps the lights on.
The one that keeps the fucking lights on. And like, unless you are an independently wealthy creator of a company that is like, this is my passion project, I don't give a fuck, and I'm in a weird exception, in most cases, you and the studio of people you're working with can get an offer that is like the ability to, again, keep the lights on for whatever determined amount of time that is more of a guarantee than anything you've had before. You can't say no to that. And
I see some folks in the chat describing that Microsoft has shut down more studios than they have shipped games in the past year.
That's wild. If that's actually the stat, man.
So
on the back end of this fucking generation too, with Microsoft.
What do we have now? So I've been talking about it on social media, and I was like, oh, Obsidian has 18 months to live, because Avowed isn't going to do Skyrim numbers. It's just not, because Microsoft owns Obsidian now. So these companies are dying for two reasons, right? Reason number one, that Activision Blizzard shit was really expensive. It was very expensive. And of course, Call of Duty will make them infinity dollars. So, reason two.
Ninja Theory's next. Please say psych.
Reason two is that buying Bethesda was really expensive, but that's okay, because Starfield is going to make so much money.
Yeah. Okay. So, Todd Howard reckons he knows why Starfield was so divisive. It was going to make so much money, but it turns out that it was too different from what they've been doing in the past.
No.
Some players just prefer the way it's done in Fallout or Elder Scrolls.
Yes, by done good instead of not good.
We've seen a lot of players saying, this is what I want out of a Bethesda game, to explore the world a certain way, and Starfield didn't give me that. I prefer the way it's done in Fallout or Elder Scrolls.
Yes, as in good instead of bad. Listen, man, I think I talked about this a couple weeks after I did that stream for Starfield, and I said, you know how I know that they know Starfield wasn't as good as Skyrim or Fallout? You didn't have to pay me to tell you to play Skyrim or Fallout, but they sure did for Starfield.
Yeah. Again, I outside looking in at this, I'm very, I guess I'm confused, I suppose, because again, like when I'm trying to figure out like what the defining qualities and traits are of the way of the way Bethesda games are handled. There's a lot of question marks, but if the answer is we were too bold in our choices, and the takeaway is just I can't remember what the missions are. I can't remember what the first couple hours of this game were. It's literally just, it's too boring to recall. I don't like. I don't know. Is there anything? Is there anything about this game or this style? Like, is there like a what? I still am sitting here going, what is it like? What do you do? What?
I mean, just go play New Vegas or Skyrim, and you can answer that for yourself. Don't play at Starfield instead. It's exploring a gigantic open space and world that is fully realized, and you do shooty gameplay or stabby gameplay in it.
Right.
So I know a couple people at Bethesda, like main Bethesda, and they are fucking freaked out by this shit. The tone that I am receiving from people I am talking to is everyone feels like they are one bomb away from losing their jobs.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Which I think is accurate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without getting into specifics or so, I've just that's a sentiment. People that I know in the industry currently are working on or have been dealing with like more and more, I guess, let's say like desperate pitches from IPs and like the tolerance for
anything less than gangbusters
is insurmountable. It's hot, more than it's ever been.
Meanwhile, Steam and Nintendo, I think that Sony and Microsoft's actions this week are kind of a perfect mirror of something that I've been saying literally as long as I have ever been in this, which is this is an industry of failure, and the winner is just the person who fails the less hardest. Like, Sony did one of the stupidest things we've ever seen in the industry and walked it back, and it was still a massive fuck up. But don't worry, here fucking come Microsoft.
Before the trip over dick into faceplant can complete itself.
Okay, let's seriously, let's think about this. Microsoft says they're not going third party because they want the best place to play games is on an Xbox. What games?
Yeah. There's a particular
Activision Blizzard games? Dude, Microsoft, the game division of Microsoft is just going to become Activision Blizzard.
There's a particularly weird version of how the industry is like getting rocked right now, where when this has happened in cyclical ways from major publishers kind of fucking things up or like major deals falling through and leading to mass firings and such, the right now there's a whole thing of like, okay, I don't feel secure where I am, I got to figure out what the next type of move should be if I make one and such. But the idea of I don't know which one of these fucking lily pads is safe to jump on has never been higher, right?
I'll go work for Nintendo. Well, no, Nintendo's fucking full.
It's like it's never been more uncertain, where you, even if you have a qualified resume and a very clear like track record of, oh yeah, you know what the fuck you're doing, anyone would hire you. You're gonna crush it on whatever project, even with like, again, an accomplished, a CV, you don't know where to step because it's all fucking landmines. The tripping over your dick while your opponent stands still and then they win by default has never been more apt.
There's a different angle here.
Okay.
There's a different angle about these Microsoft layoffs. This is from noted human enema Mike Ybarra over at Activision Blizzard King. I see a lot of shots. This is a quote. I see a lot of shots at Phil over today's Xbox announcements. I get it. But knowing him as a human, I know this hurts him as much as anyone else. I can't speak for all the leadership there, but I do know him, and I do know what he is likely going through. I'm not going to read the rest of this fucking crap. Remember, this is the guy who says you should tip the game company.
I guess that sadness will translate to only single digit bonus increases instead of double this year.
CEO of Blizzard, company so awful that we covered their sex abuse shit for like a full year and a half, says don't be mean to Phil. Don't be mean, Phil.
Yeah. The shape of 2024 on this industry is going to be unlike any other previous year for sure. I don't know where or what this looks like come next year, but
I feel like we're heading towards a crash for Microsoft and some other companies like Embracer and all that.
Like
you can only cut so many times.
You can. But there's also that thing where you're like, if there's a lot of talented people that can and have the ability to get together and do indie things, then like you kind of see, that there's always the possibility of that kind of renaissance of sorts. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't mean a crash of the whole industry.
Because
Nintendo was right there.
They are.
They're fine. they're better than ever.
Everybody,
but like, I mean, Western AAA.
I got it.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, go apply to start working at Balatro. Just everybody go work on Balatro. That's the future. It's just that'll cover it all. It'll take the whole industry on its back.
I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Microsoft, and it's very obvious that like that company has literally never known what they were doing ever. RE4, nah. Genshin, Spider-Man, motion controls. I did not know this until today. That the guy who owned the patent for motion controls went for the Wii, went to Xbox first, then Sony. And what happened is the guys at Xbox were so rude to him. Someone had to come over to him and apologize and be like, "I'm sorry, we really shouldn't be talking to people like this." Then he went to talk to Sony, and he had a meeting in which Crazy Ken wouldn't open his eyes during the meeting. He just kept his eyes closed while he made his pitch. And then he went over to Nintendo, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll buy that patent off you for motion controls."
Man. like toddlers. Yeah, that's pretty fucking incredible. If the end result of all of this is that like AAA is as a whole is irreparably damaged, then I guess that might be a silver lining that forces other things that are not AAA to exist, and it forces a correction of that nature. It's just I can't see that happening without there being even more layoffs, even more closures, and even more fucking announcements and statements like this from CEOs at the same time,
Like Call of Duty is huge, right? We all agree Call of Duty is very big game, right? I genuinely foresee Microsoft closing down Obsidian, and in the next console cycle we have a situation for like, well, what's Microsoft actually do? They put out Call of Duty, and like Microsoft is like absorbing like Activision Blizzard, but Activision Blizzard is like becoming the head, and it's just Activision Blizzard with a Microsoft logo on their chest.
Yeah,